Hello, this is Doug Gerlach from iCLUBcentral. Welcome to our Investment Club webinar. Today is Tuesday, April 19th, 2016. Welcome. Joining me tonight is our iCLUBcentral Investment Club Accounting Advisor, Russell Malley, who's going to chime in and give some perspectives and help answer questions as well. As you can see, we're going to take a look tonight at our myICLUB.com website for Investment Club operations and accounting. We've made some changes to the website recently, and I wanted to go over those and show you some of the features that we think will help make the website even more useful for you and your fellow Investment Club members. Before we get started, let's review the number to call if you're having technical problems of any kind is 1-800-263-6317. That is the GoToWebinar customer support line. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're having trouble connecting, if you're having technical difficulties, if you can't hear me, if you're not getting a picture from the webinar, please feel free to contact GoToWebinar. You can also visit them on their website and start a chat session and resolve those issues as soon as they crop up. We do recommend that you don't run any other programs on your computer while you're viewing or attending a webinar. That will interfere with the transmission of all of the data, the voice, and the graphic data that's being sent down to your computer. So turn all those programs off. Don't connect using Wi-Fi if you can help it. A wired connection is going to be much faster. You can always listen using the telephone, using that telephone number that is included in the GoToWebinar meeting reminder. Now, some of you may have already discovered this, but as of earlier this week, or actually last week, GoToWebinar is dropping support for the desktop application for Windows XP, Vista, and Mac OS X version 10.8 users. So if you're using one of those older operating systems as of last week, GoToWebinar is no longer supporting them. If you're using Google Chrome, you can join using their browser, so you don't need to install the GoToWebinar application, but other browsers will need to dial in via phone in order to hear. You'll get the video, but you won't get the audio. So GoToWebinar has provided some support documentation on their website for users who are affected by this change. Now, hopefully, we don't have too many users still using XP or Vista or older versions of the Mac OS, but if you are, that's the reason why you might have had some difficulty tonight or why you might not be able to hear me now. So we ask you to contact the GoToWebinar support for help with this issue. As with all of our webinars, you don't need a microphone. If you do have a question, use that GoToWebinar application box and type it in at any point. We'll be monitoring those questions, and we'll have plenty of time at the end of tonight's presentation, I expect, to get to any unanswered questions you might have about myICLUB, Club Accounting 3, or investment clubs in general. The handout for tonight's presentation is available in that same GoToWebinar application in the Handout tab. So just click on that PDF, save it to your computer, open it up, print it out quickly if you like. Get in the habit of checking that GoToWebinar tab, the Handouts tab, as soon as you get to a webinar in the future, and grab that right away if you like having that on hand when you're viewing the presentation. You can always grab that handout later when we archive the webinar as well. And speaking of archives, our complete schedule of upcoming and our growing catalog of recorded webinars available for viewing on demand are all available at iCLUB.com in the Learning tab. So check on that webinar schedule there. Now, one note, our next Investment Club webinar will be June 21st, and there will be no club webinar in May. The second Tuesday of May is actually the start of the Better Investing National Convention Week. So I'll be on the road at the BINC, Better Investing National Convention in Washington, D.C., actually in Chantilly, Virginia, but the Washington, D.C. suburbs near Dulles International Airport. So we'll be there for the week. So there'll be no club webinar in May, but we'll be back in June, and we will have our Toolkit 6 webinar on Tuesday, May 3rd, and our Lunchtime Stock Club webinar on May 19th. Now, please keep an eye on your email. I'll be giving a free webinar as part of the virtual eMoney Show webinar series on Thursday, May 19th. So the topic and the topic and the agenda for that eMoney show are yet to be determined, but I think I'll be on around 1 p.m. Eastern time. So keep an eye out for that. You'll get an email from Better Investing or iCLUBcentral with details of that free bonus webinar session. That'll be on Thursday, May 19th. We'll also post that on Facebook, so you can like us and follow iCLUBcentral there, as well as our Facebook pages for the Investor Advisory Service, the Small Cap Informer, and for Toolkit 6. So if you use any of those products or services, you can find us on Facebook as well. Go ahead and like us there. I do also want to note that as of April 1st, we have discontinued sales of our Club Accounting 3 for Windows desktop application. So we've stopped selling it, mostly due to some technical reasons and some projected future technical incompatibilities that we foresee coming down the pike. At this point, we haven't really been selling very many copies of Club Accounting 3 at all. Most of our new users are gravitating towards the myICLUB suite. Now, this decision does not affect current users of Club Accounting 3 in any way. So we're not discontinuing support. We're continuing to provide support for those Club Accounting 3 existing users and their clubs. The additional copy program, the annual maintenance agreement, those all remain in effect. So if you're using Club Accounting 3, certainly you are free to continue doing so. However, the focus for our future development will be almost exclusively now with myICLUB. Where we just have a whole lot more flexibility to add features and functionality, to bring in data for companies and really create an enriched experience for investment club members there. So, well, tonight I'm going to review some of our myICLUB new improvements, and helping us with many of those is Russell Malley. Russell, as I mentioned, is our iCLUBcentral Club Accounting Advisor. He's a longtime investment club member, a volunteer with Better Investing, a former chapter officer for many years, an instructor. He's worked as a professional tax preparer and a professional support representative for investment club software. So he is really the man for the job. So Russell, I just wanted to say good evening, and how are you in sunny California?
Oh, I'm good. It is indeed sunny too.
Well, we're catching up to you. We're finally getting some sunshine and warm weather in New England. So it won't be long now before I don't have to sit in the cold, bundled up, and listen to you talk about the sunshine and all the plants that are growing and how warm it is, and trying to make me feel miserable like you seem to want to do. But Russell, we just concluded our investment club tax season. Usually it winds down at the end of March, and I know that you helped a whole lot of clubs this year, as usual, with specific problems that they might be having, with specific concerns and problem securities. What's your assessment of the investment club tax season as it rolled out this year?
I thought it was a little less hectic, or at least for me. There are fewer really big problems. Most of them had to do with complexity of some transactions or something a little new that hasn't been seen before, like Google and now just Under Armour doing stock splits that are really spin-offs of a new class of stock, and that raised a fair number of questions, but fortunately it was pretty easy to figure out a solution for that.
Well, that's good to hear. I know that that's one of the things that we are facing with our investment club accounting tools is in trying to cope with the increasing complexity of these corporate mergers and acquisitions and spin-offs and splits and separate share classes, and it just creates a lot of unusual situations for sure. So we're glad that you're able to help those clubs. Now, one of my pet peeves every year is the number of investment clubs that feel this burning desire to invest in these really complicated securities, these non-stock companies or securities like royalty trusts and master limited partnerships and some of these arcane ETFs. Have you seen any trend towards clubs kind of seeing the light and avoiding those, or do we still have a lot of clubs that continue to invest in those problem securities?
Well, I haven't counted the actual ones, but I think just off the top of my head, there were fewer issues with some of those, and a few of them were just, oh, we sold it, but it ended up being still in the 2015 tax year when we sold it. You know, because of problems last year, we wanted to sell it, but we're still getting a K1. A few had things, they didn't get their K1s until beginning of April, and some of them were like the first week in April, so
wow,
like we warned people they may be really late, so we try to warn people about that, and we had a few more examples of that than in past years. Usually they're pretty good and get them in March or something, but we had a few in April.
Yeah, this is one of the downsides of investing in partnerships is that you get a K1 and those can come very late in the year. So that would not be a situation I would want to be in my investment club. Now, there's also another change in the wind, I understand, for next year in terms of the dates of when partnerships, investing partnerships are going to be required to file. Can you give us an update on that?
Oh yeah, I blame it on these master limited partnerships too, because they're sending out late K1s so that people are having to file extensions to get theirs. The IRS, I think, is wanting to remedy that, but they're doing it by making the filing deadline for partnerships, they're moving it up, so it's going to be March 15th next year. So that includes investment clubs that are organized as partnerships. They're going to have to file their K1s and their 1065s by March 15th next year.
That seems really, really aggressive, considering that, well, at least on the state side, a lot of states, do you think they're going to be following suit with that? We get a lot of state tax agencies not approving forms until the middle of March. Their backlog is so strong. I can't see them following suit with requiring partnerships to file earlier, but do you have any insight into that at this point?
Unfortunately not. I'll double check California soon. I hope that's not the case. I know we've had problems with some particular states, especially. We'll see. Maybe they'll make it available so you can, if they're going to do it, a fill-in form online you can do. We'll see.
Yeah,
try and make it easier.
Yeah, that might facilitate things. That's something that we're definitely we've got on our radar if we have to work overtime in January and February to get these to help clubs meet this March 15th deadline. For many clubs, it's not going to be a problem because clubs like to get those returns completed by the early part of March so that they can get the information to their club members so their club members don't have to wait until the end of March or April to file. So hopefully it won't be too much of a burden for us as well as for most investment clubs. But I think it's definitely good to get the word out early so that all club treasurers and investment clubs are aware of this coming change for the 2016 tax year. So the deadline for clubs to file next in 2017 is going to be March 15th, not April 15th. And that just seems, especially when we're not getting when we're not getting the 1099s from brokers until February 15th, there's just really not a whole lot of time to get that return generated. That you've got really 4 weeks now. So on the one hand, brokerage firms are taking longer to deliver the necessary information, and now on the other hand, the government wants that information sooner from the individual taxpayers, or in this case, the partnerships. But it is what it is. So we'll continue to work on improving that. Well, thanks for that little update. Now we're going to talk a little bit, turn to myICLUB and talk about some of the changes that we've rolled out. Now that tax season is over, our developers are turning to some other products. We released an update to Toolkit 6 about a week and a half ago with some minor changes, and we've been rolling out some changes to our My Stock Prospector website and also here to myICLUB. And so I just wanted to run over some of the things that we've changed. The first one here is our security dividends report. And this was based on user suggestion. We appreciate getting those user suggestions, and we pay attention to them. And we included an option to subtotal that report by security, and also to display the last full year with a little shortcut key. We have new company size diversification report categories for the definition of company sizes. I've talked about this for a long time and signaled that it's coming. We finally implemented that. We have some new brokers for our BrokerSync automatic or our account transaction download it / import function. And also we made some changes to voting, again, based on user suggestions. On the security dividends report, we specifically added a checkbox here on the right by that orange arrow that says, click that to subtotal that report by security. And then also to the left of that, you see the little link that says last full year. You click on that, it will populate the from and to date boxes above it with the last full year. So the idea is next January 2017, when you're reconciling your 1099s, you'll be able to simply click this last full year link, click the subtotal by security, click submit, and then you're going to get a report that looks something like this, where each security has all of the dividends and then the total. So that'll make it a little easier to facilitate your reconciling those 1099s. We have another request potentially to group them by security type, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to really identify everything appropriately for that. But this will certainly help you make sure that all the numbers on the 1099 match up without doing a lot of manual entry there. On our company size diversification report, this is the great report that you can use to show your club members how well your club is diversified by company size according to Better Investing Guidelines. So we've got small, mid, large. We also have micro and mega categories. So we have updated those categories. Here in this graphic shows the Better Investing suggested guidelines for diversifying your portfolio by sizes of different companies, with large being 25% of your portfolio, small being 25%, and then mid-sized being 50%. If you look down here in the right, there is how those sizes are determined. And Better Investing uses revenues as opposed to market cap to determine the size of a company. And we at iCLUBcentral have added a micro category, which are companies that tend to be so small that they're not investment quality or investment grade companies, and then also mega companies, which are companies that are so large that they seldom generate enough growth and total return for a growth stock portfolio. So the new categories that Better Investing has adopted and that have been rolled out across the Better Investing online tools, as well as the ICLUBcentral tools and Toolkit 6 and myICLUB, are that a small company has annual revenues between $100 million and $1 billion. A mid-sized company has revenues between $1 billion and $10 billion, and a large company has revenues between $10 billion, greater than $10 billion. So these are all more or less adjusted for inflation since the last time Better Investing adjusted these figures, which was in the early 1990s. So it's been almost 25 years since these numbers were updated. And so small companies were really getting hard to find by the old definition. So this is going to help ease the struggle that many clubs have when trying to find smaller companies. But so we have rolled that out. This is a great report, and this graph especially. The report that you see is useful. But if I flip over to the actual website and I show you the company size diversification report, the report is fine, but the graph down here is really useful. It's got all of the companies, it's got all of the categories, and shows you which companies are in which category. And you can look at that and compare it to that sample graph that we have, and then figure out where you might need to look for new company opportunities to help you properly diversify your club according to Better Investing guidelines. So Al says this is the company diversification chart. Yeah, this is the company size diversification chart that you see here. And I think, Russell, isn't this one that you and your club have used to some success in the past?
Yes, I've been for some time trying to get our club to say, we really should look at our size, and just by looking at, I knew we were heavily weighted in large and mega cap stocks, and people would look and say, yeah, we should do it, yes, and they never did anything in finding any of the small or mid-size until I printed out the graph, the nice pie chart there, and then we got some action. People said, oh my, we really are. I mean, we are about 60% large and mega sized, so we've pared that down. It's a little less than 50% now, I think.
Oh, so you're making progress. That's the story with many clubs. Many clubs are overweighted with large and mega stocks, and then these clubs wonder why they have such a hard time beating the market when they hold all of these low growth, lower total return stocks. Now, sometimes there are stocks, if you buy them right, buy a company like Google or Apple at the right time, you can get a really great return. But generally speaking, a lot of these companies are going to be the slower growing companies. They might grow at 6 or 7% a year, and they might pay a little dividend, but that's not getting you to your 12 to 15% total return goal. So the mid-sized stocks, the small cap stocks, that's where you can really find the growth that many clubs are really looking for, but they're just looking in the wrong place for it. Al says, is there a sector pie chart as well? And yes, there is. Here, if I go back to the portfolio reports, we have a sector and industry diversification report that shows you all of your companies according to the sector they're in, as well as the industry. And then as you scroll down, we've got the sectors and we've got the industries for your companies, and you can keep scrolling. You can see all of the companies that are part of your a part of your portfolio, and they're all highlighted by the same color, so you can kind of get a sense of which sectors, which industries, and which companies make up your portfolio. So when you see big chunks of color, that means you're highly weighted in this club in technology and consumer cyclicals, and then less so in real estate, industrials, healthcare, consumer defensive, and a little bit of cash, unknown, other, et cetera, up here. So yeah, these are also very useful. Again, the report is fine, but a lot of people don't intuitively grasp the meaning of the numbers. But when you show them these graphs, then you can have a meaningful conversation as these reports will show. Mary says, will the new reports be available on Club Accounting 3? And no, we're not doing any more development on Club Accounting 3. And even if we were, we couldn't do these reports because we don't have that company data on your computer. So it would have to be on the website. We have access. We know that Apple Computer here is a consumer electronics industry stock in the technology sector, but on your home computer, we don't know what an Apple computer stock is. So it would have to go out to the internet and find that information, and we're just not inclined to build that functionality because we already have it online. So this is where we can really do that kind of development. So we're really excited about this. I have been an advocate of this. We've been talking about it behind the scenes for 6 months or longer. So I'm really pleased that we finally were able to roll it all out and get these new guidelines going. And this should help your club to find smaller companies and mid-sized companies that fit into these guidelines and capture that higher growth that you're going to see from those kinds of companies. BrokerSync is our what we call our functionality that allows you to download transactions from online brokers. We've been rolling out these brokers on a couple at a time. So we started with Folio, FN, and TD Ameritrade, and a couple months ago we released Charles Schwab and Scottrade. So we've been tackling the most popular brokerage firms used by our investment clubs. And so Schwab and Scottrade, as you see there, they are still in beta. The problem with rolling with these features, this BrokerSync feature, is that there are so many different possible transactions that could be included in your club, not just buys and sells, but there are all sorts of fees and distributions and different types of fees and cash flows in and out. And so it's kind of hard to test for every potential variation. So we are releasing these in what we call a live beta. Beta test is something that we do in the software business where we release a product for testing by users, by a certain group of users. In this case, we've released it for anybody who wants to use it. So the idea is that if you run into problems, you can send us a question, send us a message right away and we can get it fixed. And we allow you the capability to back up your data before you download transactions into it for the first time. So in case something doesn't work as expected, you can quickly restore it. So we're just waiting for some more feedback from users. So if you're using Schwab, if you're the treasurer and your club uses Schwab or Scottrade, please give it a test. Go look at the documentation, give it a try, see how it works. Let us know if you run into any problems, and then we'll make it all official once we kind of nail it all down. And then we'll be looking at the next couple of brokers to add to the BrokerSync functionality there. So we will be working on that as we go. So we're pleased. Now we've got 4 brokers, and that covers a significant chunk of our myICLUB user base. So it's a pretty good start there. We've also enhanced our voting options. The voting options are the online voting tool is meant for the growing number of clubs that don't meet in person, but yet conduct their meetings online via email or via Skype or via chat some other function, so the online voting tool allows you to enter a motion, record who made the motion, who seconded the motion, set the how the majority is defined, if it's a simple majority or unanimous, 2/3 majority, 3/4 majority, etc. You have the various options that you can enter that members can vote on. You can even do one person, one vote, or tally your ballots by member capital accounts, which is the de facto way that Better Investing recommends that clubs conduct their balloting. So this is a useful, can also be useful if your partnership agreement allows you to have voting in between meetings. Here you can set up a ballot on the website. The way that it works is the administrator enters the motion, and then down below here we've got the option to save the motion, which saves it in your club account. Then save motion and notify members is the other one. And when you select that, it will send out an email to all of your club members that says there is a motion underway, come vote. And now the feature, the enhancements that we made is we have a email notification that goes to members when voting has ended, that you can check that. And so as soon as the ballot is closed, the members are all notified that the ballot's closed and they can click. And then we also have the option to use a secret ballot. So this is new. In the past, all the ballots were secret, but now secret ballot is something you have to opt into. If you leave this box unchecked, so if you don't use the secret ballot, we save the member results, the member voting, so that the members can see who voted which way. So depending on your club's preference, you can check that out. But the advantage of not using a secret ballot is that at the end of the day, you can track who voted for which option and who didn't vote, who abstained, who just didn't show up. So myCLUB is an online club, and that was a feature that they wanted to see. They want to know who voted which way. It's part of our procedures. That's what we do. So if you once you set up the ballot, you'll get an email that looks something like this that says current motions in this club require your vote. Click here and click the voting tab to see the current motions and place your ballot. When voting concludes, you get a similar one that says the voting on the motion has ended. Log in and click the voting tab to see the results of this ballot. And then here are the detailed voting results that are now available. This link here, see detailed results, hides and shows this box down here, which shows you who voted which way, yes, no, who abstained, who didn't vote. So you can click to see that. And then this text then becomes part of the official club record so that you can track all of that. Over time, you can see, what the motions are that have been made on the website. So this is, we think this is kind of a cool feature, a lot easier for the secretary to have to count up who voted which way and track down who didn't vote and figure out what a quorum is and how many people, what's a simple majority or what's a 3/4, 2/3 majority, whatever. And if your club has criteria that for voting that we're not supporting, you can let us know and we can add that as an additional option. So I'm pleased with the detailed voting results. And again, this came from user suggestions. The users wanted to know, some users wanted to know some of these different, wanted to have this email be sent out when ballots were ended. So it saves the secretary or the president from sending out an email, letting everyone know. It goes out automatically as soon as the ballot is concluded. So let me take a minute here before we go on. Mary says, is there a planned transition of users from Club Accounting 3 to myICLUB? at any point, clubs that use Club Accounting 3 are free to migrate to myICLUB. We allow you to export and import that data. We are working on some tools to facilitate that, but as I said, there's no reason you have to rush into it. We think that there's really, you know, the features of myICLUB really sell themselves for clubs that use it. It makes it easy, so easy to change treasurers. It makes it so easy for club members to access their information, their tax returns, all using that online platform. So there are a lot of benefits and advantages. We really think that's key. All right, let me go on. I wanted to talk about some future plans. One of the things we're working on back, you know, sort of in the experimental phase, in the skunk works, if you will, is a mobile application from myICLUB.com. So this would be something for your iPhone or your Android phone, your Samsung LTC smartphones. That would be a free app that you could download onto your phone. So if you look over here, you can see the little myICLUB app icon there. And then within that app, you'd be able to log in to your club in your club account and see various information, see some reports, maybe diversification reports, current holdings, current valuation, your current ownership in the club. So that would be part of it. And then we also see it as a way of providing general investment club information for people who might not know what a club is or might be interested on how to start a club. So allow them to kind of kickstart that process, give them some education as well. So that might be part of it. But of course, the idea is this might be a great tool to kind of increase member interaction with your club, keep people interested. Certainly younger people love their applications, their mobile phones, and so this could be a desirable way for them to participate in some way, introduce others to the concept of clubs. But of course, we're interested in what you might have to say or what your opinion might be. So I thought I would launch a little poll here, just asking, you who are here tonight, would you use a myICLUB app? How interesting does this concept sound to you? Again, it won't replicate the full features of all of the website. That would be hard to do in a small smartphone application, but we might be able to include some simple transactions at some point. And of course, we would release this, start out simple, start out slow, and then we would add functionality, assuming that it worked over time. Of course, you would have to have a myICLUB subscription in order to access club information, but the app itself would be free and will allow you to log in there. So. All right, so I see 63% of you have voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. Let me see, and I'll share the results with you. It seems like about 70% of you said you would probably or definitely would, so that's a pretty good indicator that we might be not spinning our wheels when we look at this myICLUB application. So if you have thoughts about what you think would be most useful to you, either as a treasurer or a club member, can you email me? You probably all know how to reach me, Gerlach at iCLUB.com, or just file a ticket on the support website at iCLUB.com and say, here's my idea for the perfect myICLUB phone app. And we'll get that in the queue over to the development team and see what we can come up with that might be a useful application for club users. CL says there is an application, myICLUB Online. Yeah, and that's for gym memberships. There's a funny story. myICLUBonline.com is a back office payment solution for independent fitness gyms So every once in a while we get someone who signs up at myICLUB.com and wants to know how they can pay for their gym membership. And it's been, sort of a source of confusion. myICLUB predates myICLUB Online, it's just an occasional. It doesn't really affect us, our customer base, as much as theirs, I think, which is why we've not kind of pursued it. But I actually just changed gyms in the last month, and my new gym uses myICLUB Online. So I had to chuckle when I went to update my credit card information to pay for my monthly gym membership. I was the one who created the myICLUB.com name. It used to be NOCA, NAIC Online Club Accounting, when it was launched in 2000 or 2001. And we promptly, by 2004, 2005, we rebranded it myICLUB, which we thought felt better and felt more meaningful. So it's interesting. But yeah, myICLUB Online has nothing to do with us and is great for your gym memberships, but not so good for investment clubs. All right, let's. I've got a couple questions, Russell. So I think we will help. You can help us here for some of these. Patricia says, Patricia, you may need. Okay, here's the situation. A member has left her club and they've not been able to contact her. We want to remove the member from active membership status without actually withdrawing her from the club until contact's been made. The question is, can the myICLUB suspense account be used as a holding account for a member's capital account and as a way to avoid that member receiving dividends and distributions and other transaction gains in that capital account? So, Russell, what's your take on that? You kind of get where she's going there?
Yeah, but you're not making her inactive if you put her value in the suspense account. You're actually going to probably have to withdraw her, and she wouldn't get any more, wouldn't be responsible for reporting any more allocation of any club income after that point. As long as they have units, they will be allocated some of the club income. And the only way you can get 0 units is to process a full withdrawal. But you can do that. You can process a full cash withdrawal and have the payment come out of the suspense account. It will have a large negative balance, whatever, maybe a medium negative balance. But that negative balance just shows what you owe that member when you can get a hold of them. So it is possible. The only problem is you're going to be reporting their withdrawal in whatever tax year you do it, and if you don't get in touch with them until the next tax year, their spanning tax years can be a little problematic.
Yeah, I think Patricia, you should take a look at your partnership agreement. The standard Better Investing Partnership Agreement specifies that if a club member is inactive for a certain period of time, then they automatically become withdrawn. There's not even a vote required after a certain. So if a member has been out of touch for 6 months, I think that is a good indication that you might as well withdraw that member. Maybe if they come back and they've got a great story to tell and they want to rejoin the club, they can certainly do it. We're not penalizing necessarily by the act of withdrawing, assuming that you're not overcharging on withdrawal fees. They would just have to be liable for current year capital gains taxes or potentially losses. So that seems, again, you're making life complicated for yourself because of someone else. And, I just feel like you might as well go ahead and withdraw this member and follow the letter of your partnership agreement that person agreed to when they joined the club and get it resolved. There's not really a way to hide somebody in a club and prevent them from receiving the tax benefits or the tax penalties of being in a partnership. You're either a partner or you're not. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not. There's no middle ground there, and I think so. I think I would agree with Russell on that side. Patricia also asked Russell, how do you transfer club securities to a departing member?
You just give instructions to your broker. Transfer this many shares of company XYZ. If you process the withdrawal in the software, a stock in cash withdrawal, the withdrawal report will also give it block by block. You have to, which block of XYZ you were transferring. It may be one or multiple blocks. It will say the holding period, which for the withdrawing member will be the purchase date that the club had, and it will tell you what the fair market value was, the club's cost basis, and more importantly, the cost basis to the withdrawn member. Brokers usually, if they don't have any cost basis, they'll assign it market value on the day it's transferred. Now, if you give it that, they will have the true cost basis. So the member can give that to their broker and say, this is what's going to be the true cost basis for the shares I'm receiving. This is the true holding period. It's listed on there. I just helped the club do that, and they're going to be sending a copy of the withdrawal report to their brokers with instructions, okay, for this person, transfer all these shares. After the transfer, these are the holding periods and the cost basis to that member. So hopefully they'll follow instructions, and in their system they'll put in that holding period and cost basis. It's usually free to transfer within to the same brokerage company. So if you have a TD Ameritrade, transfer to another TD Ameritrade account. They may charge a nominal fee to transfer it outside of the company. Usually it's, what I've heard is around $50 to $100. It depends on how big and how much trouble it is to them.
Russell, here's the wrinkle. They don't use a broker.
They don't use a broker. You have all of them in
so I assume their dividend reinvestment plan and direct purchase plan accounts.
Oh, well, that is a wrinkle. Check with the administrator of the DRIP account or the direct purchase plan, and they should be able to give instructions on how to transfer shares.
Yeah.
And probably stay within the plan. And if you're transferring out to a broker, they might charge you.
Yeah. I think
I haven't heard of this before. There is on the treasurer's list a big discussion, and the person also reached to me through the support is they had a member who was not providing broker information,
right,
and they couldn't transfer. I have to do a little more research on this, but their broker suggested there is a way to transfer the shares in the name of the withdrawing member to the transfer agent of the stock, and then the transfer agent can then contact the withdrawn member and get broker information and then transfer it out. So I have to do a little more research on how that would work and what types of costs, but even if with recalcitrant members, you still might be able to transfer stock.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. At some point, I
haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, at some point, the club, if your member wasn't responding, at some point it would make sense you would have to send the property to your state's lost property department, and then they would figure out, post it as unclaimed property, and at some point maybe that person would resurface and go through the claims process to get the securities back, or the amount of those securities, more likely.
Right.
I mean, unless there is a benefit for a fully withdrawing partner for transferring appreciated shares. So those are the two requirements there. It has to be a member who's fully withdrawing, and that you have to have securities that have gone up quite a lot in price. and then it makes sense. It makes more sense in most cases to transfer those shares instead of selling the shares. But in this, if you don't have a broker, that makes it really complicated. In that case, I would look to the other strategy, which is selling shares that you're holding at a loss and generate a capital loss, and then use the cash from that capital loss and pay off that member in cash. That would be a much easier approach. And then my final thought on this is, brokerage accounts are so inexpensive. Online brokerage accounts are so inexpensive these days, and it would make your life as treasurer so much easier if you had one account. If you closed those dividend reinvestment accounts, transferred those shares into a single brokerage account, and again, that's pretty straightforward to do. And then and I don't even recommend using dividend reinvestment anymore because it creates a lot of reconciliation. And when you sell, you have to count for all those reinvestment purchases, the capital, the tax lots, and it just gets really messy. So I like to keep things as simple as possible. So that's my approach.
Yeah, another problem with the dividend reinvestments is they're much more likely when you sell some of them, sell the stock, that you're going to end up generating a wash sale, so you have more work.
Yep. Robert says they want a medallion signature guarantee to transfer securities. Now, back in the 15, 20 years ago, when dividend reinvestment plans were really popular because they were so low cost compared to brokerage firms, primarily because the optional cash purchases that you could make were at such low cost that it beat. You could start, you could do $100 or $200 at a time, whereas even in an online broker, it's going to cost you a commission to make that purchase. So they were very popular then. But the problem was you needed a share of stock in order to get started, or 5 shares or 10 shares, whatever the plan might require. So there were services, there were companies like First Share, organizations that Better Investing had a low-cost investment plan. What you would do when you wanted to transfer a share is you would have take a letter instructing the transfer agent or the drip agent to transfer shares to this person. Here's their information, and then you would get that your signature guaranteed by a medallion signature guarantee. And that's a program that most commercial banks offer. So this is, a retail bank or credit union. Credit unions often do it for their customers that will validate the customer's signature if you're a customer of that bank. So so whoever's signing it has to have a bank that offers a medallion signature guarantee. You would take in the letter, you would sign it in their presence, they would validate your signature against their files, and then stamp it appropriately, sort of like a notary public, but the program is specifically for signatures. Now, this is really fading by the wayside because of the movement away from paper stock certificates, which are all but eliminated in favor of electronic transactions. So that's why this gets really, it's getting increasingly uncommon to run across transfers of paper certificates and transfers outside of brokerage firms, because there's this whole movement towards electronic shareholder certificates and record keeping. So that's part of the problem that's making things complicated, and it's only going to get more complicated, and you're going to find more and more banks that don't offer medallion signature guarantees, and you could really end up in a hole. So I would really kind of look at some of these low-cost options. If you're a Better Investing club, you can get a Folio FN brokerage account and pay no brokerage commissions as long as you're a Better Investing member club. So that can be a great option there. Leonard says, we lost a member by death. If we had beneficiary information on file, would it make distributions easily? Is this an option for investment clubs? So
No.
Russell, no. Yeah.
Do not use your beneficiary statement stated. The deceased member may have different instructions on a legally binding will, and if you send out that money to someone else, you may get yourself in legal trouble. So that's why we suggest make it out to the name of the deceased member, or make a check out to the name of the deceased member or to the estate of the deceased member. Let the person handling the estate take care of it and not the club.
Yep. That is our current our recommendation. The beneficiary statement may not be binding if the deceased will has some other stipulation. If you're in a community property state, there's so many variables. You could be paying the wrong person, and then you know who's on the hook. You and your remaining club members are on the hook if the right person comes around and says, "Hey, I don't care who you paid, you owe me the money." That's what the law says. So we don't use beneficiary statements. Anytime a member passes away within an investment club, that is a withdrawal, a full withdrawal. So you process it just like any other full withdrawal. Every time someone passes away, if you have their last known address on file, right, that's where you send that check to, and their estate will take care of depositing that check and distributing the proceeds. In many cases, there's not as much of an advantage to transferring securities to a deceased partner. So generally, you're generating the cash in order to make that happen.
Yeah, it's also really unlikely. It may be a lot harder to transfer securities also if they don't already have a brokerage account, because brokers won't set up one for the estate. They often will say, no, we need the person themselves. They have to come in, they have to give ID, and that's not possible. So right. A new account can't be set up, so you can't transfer it if they don't already have an account set up.
Al asks if you have to wait until you have a death certificate. And the Better Investing recommended partnership agreement just says that the club receives notice of the death of the partner. So it doesn't need to be a death certificate, an obituary in a newspaper or notification by next of kin, as long, and should suffice for many clubs because they are made up of friends and coworkers and family. It's not a question of confirming the passing, but your club can certainly set guidelines and validation. If you have a member that is not as well known to the rest of the club, for instance, you may, and someone calls and says they passed away, you might want to just make sure when was the funeral and confirm it that way. But it's generally not required to have a death certificate. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Al wanted to know what's the difference between myICLUB and ICLUBcentral. ICLUBcentral is our company name, and myICLUB is our product for investment clubs. We talk about myICLUB because it's our leading tool for club operations and accounting, but we talk about all kinds of investment club topics in the course of our investment club webinar series. You can sample past topics on the archived webinar page on iClub.com. You can learn more about all the things that we cover. If you have suggestions for future topics, please give me an email and let me know what you'd like us to cover in the future. I want to thank you, Russell, for joining us tonight. Thank all of you out there for coming, and we'll look forward to seeing you. Remember, not in May, but we'll be back in June at our next Investment Club webinar presented by ICLUBcentral. Have a good night.
Good night.